Afternoon. Well, it looks like we have a full house tonight, or today, this afternoon. My name's Pete Jones. I'm the commander of American Legion Post 72, and I'm the 66th commander of this post. This post goes back to 1919, so it's quite an old post. And we're always looking for new members that are willing to help us out. Over here we have Roy Switzler, and Roy is the CEO of the Veterans Parade in the Wellesley Wonderful Weekend. We have Jerry Kelly, one of our Legion members who's been helping out. And we have our Lorelei King, who is our Sergeant-at-Arms. And we have Becca Cahaley from the Friends of Wellesley Veterans, who was instrumental in putting all the pieces together. And we'd love to thank our special people at the COA for putting this on. Kathy, you've been wonderful to help us out with this event. And Kathy Savage, she's gone, well, in the Marine Corps, what we call beyond the call of duty. And we appreciate it. This is what the original American Legion building looked like. And it was built in the 1820s, and it was a gift from Isaac Sprague. Isaac Sprague paid $6,000 for this from a university in Boston, and he put it out here expressly in a trust with the town of Wellesley for the veterans. Because when the veterans came home, they had nothing, and I mean nothing. No benefits, no places to hang out or health benefits or anything else. So this was their gathering place. This is a picture of the old 492, which you're sitting in right now. This is the location that this building was in. And these are all the World War I veterans at that time, a picture of them. So this is quite a historic building with a lot of history. And for more history, I encourage everyone to go to Wellesley Historical Society. Tori, why don't you grab a seat right over here? That would be great. Tori DeFazio, another famous member of our American Legion Post 72. Goes back at least 3 generations in town here. I myself have been here 79 years, but Tori's been here longer. We won't say how much longer. So the American Legion all started at the ending of the Great War, and at that time they thought the Great War was the end of all wars, but we all know now that it wasn't the end of all great wars. After the Great War, all the veterans were returning home, and what happened was that they found that they didn't have any benefits. They were injured, they had no hospital insurance or anything of that nature. So what happened was an expeditionary force over in France, which consisted of a number of folks that ended up in the American Legion, lobbied the U.S. government. And in 1921, they were able to create a Veterans Bureau. And then by 1930, they had the Veterans Administration that we know today that supports all veterans. And the American Legion was formed by this veterans group that got all these benefits for all the veterans. And that was the start of it. And today we have over 13,000 posts like this one here. Some are aging out, as ours was, but we're building it back up, and we're hoping some of the veterans in the room will join us in the things that we do in town. Commander Jack Early, I should say Captain Jack Early, 1896 to 1921, has quite a history in this post. He was the founder of the first and the first commander of this American Legion Post 72. He was a recipient of the Distinguished Service Cross, and for those of you that don't recognize that, that's the second highest to the Medal of Honor that the Army has to give out to an individual for heroic actions. And when he was in France, he earned the Legion of Honor Award, which is the highest award that the French have. Jack has quite a history here in Wellesley. He was a graduate of Wellesley High School. He started his own little business as a stock messenger boy. He had an interest in the military from day one, and he was an early volunteer in the U.S. Army and joined the U.S. Army in May 1917. As the war in Europe kept going on and kept increasing. He went to the officers' training camp in Plattsburgh, New York, and he was commissioned as one of the youngest second lieutenants there. We're talking 19 years old, 20 years old now. Quite unusual. When the Armistice Day came, and it was signed in November of 1918, he was still at the war front, and he served as the Army Occupational Group until May of 1919. That's a group that basically occupies those areas that were under the control of, at that time, the Germans, and make sure that everything goes smoothly for the transition to peacetime. During this time, he got together with a gathering of other soldiers that were in at that period of time. And at that period of time, those soldiers got together and they formed a group that was soon to be called the American Legion. And this was in 1919. So we're looking at over 100 years here. As I said before, he was the first commander of the Post 72. And shortly after he became a commander, the town of Wellesley realized his leadership skills because of the awards that he was giving for his heroic actions, leading men into battle. And so it wasn't a year before or so before he got back that they said, "We want you to join our town because we have a problem." And the problem was that the town was growing great leaps and bounds. I don't know if anybody knows what the population is of Wellesley, but it's about 29,000. Well, they had growing pains at 6,000 back then. So while he was stationed in Lorraine, France, Captain Early saw a lot of action. By all accounts, Early performed heroically and was awarded the Distinguished Cross, which I told you before. And it's interesting because he developed a program of being able to outflank the enemy under really harsh conditions. Machine gun fire, as we all know that was in the military, is nothing to be in front of. And so he was able to outflank the Germans and save many, many lives of all the men that were involved. For that historic heroism, he again was awarded those awards, Distinguished Cross, and you can see that no one wants to stand in front of something like that, and you need to have leadership to get men to belly up to the table and charge something like that and take over. However, that continued service and public service was suddenly ended. Jack's automobile, Jack was going to his old division, they called it the Rainbow Division in the Army, in Ohio. And at that time, he was driving out there, and the automobile he was driving in got a flat tire. His driver got out to change the flat tire. When he got back in the car, Jack Early had died suddenly from a heart attack at 25 years old. So they attributed it to him being in the trenches out there with the mustard gas and some of the other things that he had picked up when he was in the service. "25 years old is awfully young to be taken, and the town of Wellesley, their dreams of having that selectman more than just a year were all crumbled at that point in time. When the residents of Wellesley found out what had happened to Jack, and you can imagine every business, every government in the agency or department in Wellesley was shut down. All the schools were shut down. Anything that was going into town was shut down. And they lined the streets all the way from Central Street all the way down to Washington Street. And back then, they all dressed up in their suits and hats, as you can see. And these folks traveled 4 miles with Jack's horse-drawn case on, 4 miles to a cemetery called Cavalry Cemetery in Waltham. This picture shows you how much respect they had for Jack and the things that he had done during the war and what he had accomplished for his first year in the town of Wellesley. They were looking forward to a bright future, but unfortunately the star had been extinguished at that time. But there were literally hundreds of people that showed up for his funeral. I just wanted to give you a little background of how the Post was back and who started the whole thing. And it was all based on getting, and of course Jack died from his ailments, so obviously they didn't have anything to support the veterans when they came home. A lot of people have asked me on the fly, what happened to the old Post? And this was the original home. And what happened was this home was vintage. It was 1820s, and it needed renovation. The membership funding for the renovation was good on the first renovation, but by 2008, they needed a second renovation. And the Wellesley Post membership, 72 membership, was aging out, and the source of revenue was greatly diminished at that period in time. So in 2009, what happened was the membership voted to turn the building over to the town of Wellesley for what would be known today as the future of the Council on Aging, and you're sitting in the exact spot that the building was in. So it's quite historic. To introduce you a little bit to the American Legion, our motto is for the veterans, strengthening America. And our mission is to enhance the well-being of America's veterans, their families, our military, and our communities by our devotion to mutual helpfulness. And as I go through this, you'll see just some of the things that the American Legion does. This is a picture here of something that Torrey DeFazio, one of our membership here, he learned that there was matching funds that anyone would, if anyone would take the old World War I monuments and fix them up. Ours was in quite a disarray. As a matter of fact, back in 1919, when the veterans came home, they had a special gathering. The town had 6,000 people in it at the time. 4,000 showed up for this event at Honeywell Field. So put that in perspective of 29,000, how many would have to show up? And Roy, I don't think we could fit them in Honeywell Field because we know exactly how many people we can fit in Honeywell Field for the fireworks. But anyways, so that was really something. And Tori and my wife Joanne and others did a lot of work to find out all the members of all the families, including Jack Early's family members. And what they did was they went all over the United States through social media to find out who these folks were and who the defendants were. So my lovely wife Joanne went and researched this, and she found them all over the United States. And one of the things that Tori and I were wondering about was the wonderful ring that was sent to the front lines of those in World War I. They had a signet ring of solid gold that the town of Wellesley, with the town of Wellesley seal on it, that they had sent out to all those on the front lines. And Joanne was able to get a letter back that basically was from a gentleman on the front lines, and he said, for a minute, I thought I was back in Wellesley. So that was quite a letter. And what happened was for over a year, we were researching all of this, and the ring was found over social media. Was it Michigan, I think it was? Michigan. A gentleman had a beautiful picture of it and sent it over by an email of the ring. And he says, is this what you were looking for? And he had a little story. He said, this was my grandfather's ring, and I wore it every day around my neck. But the chain, because it was solid gold, the chain started to eat through it, so I put it back in the box, and I'm in possession of it. Now, there were many of those rings that were sent out because we had over 300 folks that were in the service at that period of time. So we kept looking, and we found another one here in town, actually, which the family didn't realize that we were searching because, as you know, we've lost our townsmen, so we've really lost our communications to the public in that regard, because everyone used to read the paper. But we found another one, and that was a great end to that story there. Now, this monument here that you see here was put up by our group. If you look to the, let's see, my left, that's Lindsay Elm, and myself, the commander of the post. And then we had Carl Nelson was at the presentation there. He's the president and CEO of the Friends of Wellesley Veterans. And then we have John Saunders, God bless him, he's passed away. And he was my financial officer. So you can imagine what impact that was on the post. And then we have Torrey DeFazio, and Torrey was the leader of this whole project and got it all started and was able to get some matching funds, and the paperwork was challenging between the town and the Legion, et cetera, to go all the paperwork to get this done. Now, what I have here, and I think, Jerry, if you'll help me here, is the QR code that actually exists in this location down here on the monument. So when you're walking through Memorial Grove, and by the way, Memorial Grove is behind what used to be the Star Market in the old days, which is now Whole Foods. When you're walking behind there by Skating Pond, you'll enter a memorial grove there. And so what happened is for the 300-plus soldiers that were there, the town gave them all a tree. And then the ones that had been taken away from us during the war, the 5 soldiers, they gave them a special tree. And at that time, it was an elm tree. And you know what's happened to the American elm trees. They all disappeared. So what we had to do was find a tree from the Tree and Park Department that was very helpful on this, from Wellesley Tree and Park Department. And so we put up redbud trees there, so in the spring, they come to blossom and you can see them. And they all have American flags at the gravesite. Yeah, I appreciate it if no one hit their phone on it, because I just heard the start of that program. So it does work. But anyways, so that was one of the big projects we put on. And it was interesting because the American Legion Home Office awarded these grants to over 13,000 posts. So you can imagine the amount of revenue that took to do that. One of the events, and Roy Switzer over here was the spearhead of this from the Legion, was to find all the 100-year-old vets and have a special ceremony for them. This was one of the many ceremonies that we had with Willard Honeywell when he turned 100 years old. And it was supported by Beth Sullivan Woods, as you can see in the select board, the chief of police, the chief of the fire department, and our Legionnaires that were at the scene at the time. And this was held actually on the Honeywell estates, and it was a big affair. We had fire engines coming in, we had the police department, and we had everybody, right, Tori? Everybody showed up for this event. It was a wonderful event. And we try to do this, and we try to locate all the 100-year-old vets. Sometimes it's difficult to find them, but eventually we do find them. This is another event, and we call this kind of what we call in the Legion is a buddy check. What we like to do is we like to check on some of the veterans that aren't doing so well. And as we age out, we're all getting into that category. And so at Elizabeth Seton, what we do is we get together with them every year, and we talk about the things that are happening in town and their military service and things that happened when they were in the military, et cetera. And last time we were there, I think we had about 125, 30 people that showed for this event at Elizabeth Seton, if I remember correctly. We work with a number of different civic organizations, and one that helps us with the Veterans Parade particularly. That's Becca Cahaley and Carl Nelson and a few others that are there. We get together, and in this case, what we were at was a veterans breakfast that they put on for over 125 or 30 people at the time. Here's the big event that Roy's been doing. How many years have you been doing this, Roy?
34.
34. He's been doing it for 34, but this was actually the 58th this year that we did. And the post-72 members were involved in that with the Friends of the Wellesley Veterans and a number of other citizens that have volunteered their time to help us with this. And it's quite an ordeal. We start in February to prepare for these things, and then we have to go through the whole process. And as you can see, we get a good turnout every year, and people are, and of course, our Master of Ceremonies, let me get out of the way, Tori. Our Master of Ceremonies we brought up this year in a classic coach. Was this your generation of transportation or no? Oh, I'm sorry, Tori. Mine were into automobiles. I didn't realize that. But anyways, and we have special recognition for our Purple Hearts veterans, and all of our service branches. And as you can see, we have color guards for all of them this year, which was quite an undertaking, but we were able to get it done. And we have members of the Kiwanis Club also, which my lovely wife Joanne's the treasurer, who also help out with these parades and line up all sorts of funding organizations, etc. The American Legion, one of the pillars of the American Legion is the youth programs in Americanism. And we support the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of the United States. And they're participating here, that's Troop 185, I believe, in town carrying the American flag during the parade. And we like to support them because they have a strong foundation of American values for our next generation of military folks and leaders of our great nation. We work with a number of patriotic organizations, and two of the ones that come to mind right away are the Sons of the American Revolution, which we put up a Village Tavern memorial at the village church a year or so ago. And the other one is the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, Amos Mills and Lucy Jackson chapter. And Liz Becker is the, here today? Yes. You're ranking it?
Well, I was the regent.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. And one of the things that's shown here is that organization standing by a stone that was put on Western Road years ago. Amos Mills, for those who don't know who he was the first one killed during the action in Arlington. My wife and I, my wife's a big history buff as I am, we tracked down his, where he was killed and where he was buried. His home was on Western Road, right next to Fisher Avenue, where there's brand new houses now. There used to be Fisher Farms there, etc. That stone is there, and every year the American Legion and the Daughters of the Revolution take care of that, and we make sure that it has flags there representing his courage during those times. And he is buried in Arlington, Massachusetts, right in back of the library that's there. And he lost his life at the Russell House, which is a museum that you can all visit. They actually took laser beams and took the lasers to find the locations of all the British soldiers where they were shooting from. And the bullet holes are still in the walls. And the cellar hole, which they came in and mutilated them, is still there. And it's quite an event to go there and see what happened back in those hectic times. The other event that I want to mention is the Reeves Across America that the Daughters of the American Revolution get involved in. And one of our Legion members here, Lorelei King, is a member of that organization. And are you in this photo, or didn't I get you? Yep, you are in this photo. Every year, the American Legion gets involved in the dressing of the graves. We get volunteers together, and all the flags that are in town, on all the poles, on all the cemeteries, etc., are taken down and replenished with new flags, showing the respect we have for those who have passed and given us our freedoms. And so what we do is we get volunteers, and we get over 1,500 flags that we have to put out in all the cemeteries and all the memorials. Now, what I have here, and if Jerry, you'll handle this some. This is a listing that my wife was able to put together, Joanne. She did a lot of work on this, of all the memorials that are in town that people don't even know exist. And this year, at our Memorial Day event, I feature one which was Dana Frost, which is one that no one can find. It's at Frost Circle. And at Frost Circle, which is off of Western Road, going westbound, you'll find a memorial there. And what we try to do is they have an old saying that you die once, but the second time you die is the last time anyone says your name. So we make sure that when we're at these grave sites, that we say their names at the grave sites. And I noticed that every event that we have with the Daughters of the Revolution, that's one of the things that they make sure we do when we replace all the wreaths at all the graves. We also have to retire all of these flags, and it's a big job. The total job, last time we were there, I don't know, 8 hours to complete. We have a formal presentation that's supported by the police and the fire department, and wonderful Beth Sullivan Woods, who's our interface to the select board. We arrange all of this, and we retire them respectfully. And as a matter of fact, her back's to us now. That's Beth Sullivan Woods there, folding up a flag to be presented by the sergeant-at-arms to myself, the commander, through the process. And as you can see, it's quite a ceremony. And every year our membership dwindles a little bit, but we've gotten a few new members into the post, and we hope others will join us and get the picture of service to the community. One of the things the American Legion Post does also is we try to support those in need, the veterans and their family members that are in need. And so we have a wonderful, what we call veteran service officer, who actually handles 5 towns here. And Wellesley's one of them. And this gentleman is Dan O'Neill, and he does a tremendous job of interfacing with myself with Post 72 so we can find out those veterans that are in need of services and perhaps financial aid, et cetera. And this is one of the checks that the Post delivered to him for a veteran that was in need. In order to cut down the number of slides, I had to put all these other events here so that you could have an idea of some of the other ones that are covered by the Post. The Veterans Day ceremony was actually created back in 1919 when Jack Early was the commander of this post. The first Memorial Day was also created in 1919, and we've been holding them ever since. The American Legion members, under the guidance of the town of Wellesley, formed what we call the Celebrations Committee, which Roy Switzler is the president and CEO of. He's been doing it for years, as he said. And so we sponsor the whole weekend. We put in, we go to all the different events. We sponsor all of them in a magazine. I think we send out over 10,500 brochures throughout the town attached to the electric light bills to let people know about these events. But that event is also supported by the Friends of the Wellesley Veterans. They do a heck of a lot of work transferring the funds to the town as they're donated to their organization, because the town requires us to have a special 501c3 to process the donations from businesses and the public. And I think what people don't understand is, for about 30 years, we had a very trivial amount of money that was given to the Celebrations Committee, and we used to collect all the donations ourselves. And it cost excess of $60,000 to put on a parade. And so I was the treasurer for 6 years, and for those 6 years, we saw about 50% of donations from the public and 50% from the businesses, and a starter fee from the town. Just recently, we have rallied the troops to go to the town and see if they could up that with a $226 million budget now. I compare that to when I was talking about Memorial Grove. The reason that the town didn't finish Memorial Grove and that we had to finish it was because they were lacking $2,000. So it's quite a difference nowadays. So we figured that perhaps they could support the Veterans in the Town event. This is the largest event in town. And so they've upped that ante, which helps us a lot with it. And we thank Beth Sullivan Woods for getting that taken care of. We do special themes as part of the Wellesley Wonderful Weekend, which takes a lot of work, trust me. And this year, the special theme that we had was the Declaration of Independence, the creation thereof. We wanted the children in our school system to know where their freedoms came from. And so we put together an event called The Capture of Paul Revere, and William Dawes and Dr. Prescott right on the town hall property at the bridge that connects the fish pond to the town hall. And so this was very well received by the public. As a matter of fact, when Paul Revere got captured, one of the kids yelled out, "Leave him alone!" and so it was pretty realistic. They were all dressed in their uniforms, which they pay $3,000 to $4,000 to get specially made. And it was quite an event to have them there. And that was the King's 4th Military Division that came over to play that part. And then, of course, we had the cannon fire that we have every year at Morton Field as part of that event. And we were able to get the Lexington Minutemen, through Ann Mar-a-Lago and her brother, who is a member of that group, to help us out because everybody was stretched for resources, and they had started a year before we did. But we were able to get the Lexington Minutemen there to fire their muskets, and Paul Revere pleasantly told the British regulars, that's what they're called, that they were a long way from Boston, and those cannons going off and the muskets going off were probably patriots. Well, it turns out they weren't patriots. They were really the British, but they didn't know, so they stole Paul Revere's horse and sent him on foot through the swamp, and the best we could come up with was the duck pond as the swamp area. So anyway, the public and the kids got a big kick out of that. Now, upstairs in the town hall this year, for part of that special event, we had another Paul Revere, who was a ventriloquist. We also had some wonderful people that portrayed, and in the bottom right-hand corner, portrayed the creators, the 5 creators of the Declaration of Independence. And then what was interesting is the kids that were there, we let them in the room, and they started drafting the Declaration, which was interesting. My wife was able to get the actual copy of the Declaration and put it on old parchment paper. And so what they're doing there is they were discussing what has to be in it, et cetera. And then the kids got involved in it. And one of the kids came out when I was standing there with Paul Revere and said, "I drafted the Declaration of Independence." So they got a good understanding of what was going on back there, hopefully, and the price that had to be paid for all those patriots, et cetera. The other special events that we have during the wonderful weekend, we have an ecumenical gathering at the local church, St. Paul's, and Tori this year was reading the members of all those that had passed in special memory of them, showing the respect we have for those folks. Another event, I got to keep track of all these in my mind. The other event that we have is the Middle School Memorial Day Assembly. That was started by Ken Johnson years ago. And we try to get the American Legion members that are available to join him and other folks that were in the service, as you can see up on the top right-hand picture there. And so we march in with the American flag. And this year they did the middle school did a wonderful job of understanding how their freedoms were given to them from all the people in the military. They had special presentations talking about each of the wars and conflicts that we had and those that were lost their lives to give them their freedoms. The chair that is there is the POW MIA chair that we like to have at all events, and I have a picture up there. That's those who were sent to war and never returned, and we always like to give them an acknowledgement and have them at all of our special events, whether it's pictorial or in the real chair, etc. We like to make sure that we acknowledge that those are the actual folks that are either missing in action or still working under deprivation with our enemies, etc. So we like to make sure. And also a remembrance of that, the American Heritage Museum, run by the Colonies Foundation in Hudson, Massachusetts, has the only POW MIA Hanoi Hilton cell that was left, and they've recreated it there by the actual members that spent 8 years in that internment getting tortured. And they actually gave a presentation, and it's a video presentation. So it's quite emotional when you go into that cell and you listen to what they have to say. One of the other events two of the other events that we have is the Wellesley Memorial Scholarship. People don't understand that scholarship, so I found out anyways, that it was a scholarship that was formed by the American Legion Post 72 member Rod McKinnon. For those that don't know who Rod McKinnon is, Rod McKinnon was a longtime resident of Wellesley. He was instrumental providing orchids for around the world. His, if you look at where the gas station is coming down on the Western Road ramp, that building area used to be his Sunoco station back in the old days. And in back of that, where all these houses were, was nothing but field when I was a kid that we had to walk through to get to school at Hardy School. And Rod McKinnon was a past commander of American Legion Post 72, and he realized that the veterans were not getting the educational benefits because they put their lives on hold for 4 years during the Second World War. So Rod McKinnon went to the legislature, Mass Legislature, and got special legislation passed so that we could provide the Memorial Scholarship Fund here in Wellesley. And that's for all the veterans and all related family members so that they can get assistance higher education than high school. So that's a little bit of history that I think no one knows about that I wanted to bring forward. The other event that the seniors in this room, I'm sure you all go to the Thanksgiving event. Well, that Thanksgiving event was started in 1966 by American Legion Post 72, its membership. And for 30 years they put that on until we all got old and couldn't put it on anymore. And then the wonderful fire department, Wellesley Fire Department, puts that on every year now with the help of the Council on Aging. So it's wonderful to see organizations that step up to the plate when other civic organizations can't do the job. I have a brief 12-minute presentation here that will give you a good idea of what the American Legion does and how it operates.
Jabo. I'm a U.S. Army veteran and a former combat medic in Kuwait and Iraq. I'm also a proud member of the Corey Edwin Garver American Legion Post 202 in Topsom, Maine. And I want to welcome you to the American Legion. First and foremost, thank you for joining the nation's largest and most influential veterans organization. We have a proud history and a bright future thanks to your membership. Let me share a glimpse into the journey you're about to take. The American Legion operates on 4 different levels, as our preamble states, through individual obligation to the community, state, and nation. As individual veterans, we each have a mission to strengthen the nation we swore with our lives to defend. Working as a team, just like we did in the military, we strengthen one community at a time through programs, projects, and services that collectively improve all of our states and the entire nation. The American Legion is built on 4 founding pillars: veterans, defense, Americanism, and youth. Under each pillar are programs, services, and values that guide our volunteer work, our advocacy, and our camaraderie. Some members operate in all of the pillars, others choose just 1 or 2 that appeal to them most. However you choose, the Legion has something for everyone under each of the pillars that guide our organization. And for those veterans who do not want to get deeply involved, your membership is equally essential to help us live up to our highest values. Let's start with veterans. The American Legion trains and certifies more than 3,000 service officers who represent veterans and their families with their VA claims, healthcare needs, education, career opportunities, and so much more, all free of charge across the country and beyond. Specialized training required of service officers is funded by the American Legion Veterans and Children Foundation. Veterans and their families rely on service officers to show them where to turn, and they rely on trained, accredited American Legion service officers to assist them with the actual filing of claims, application for benefits, and other more personal needs. No matter the position American Legion members hold at the local post, they provide millions of volunteer hours at VA facilities and state veterans' homes each year. They also help families navigate the system and put smiles on the faces of veterans who may otherwise be alone or disabled. One of our fastest growing programs is the Buddy Check, where our members simply call on local veterans who may be isolated and in need. Our sole purpose is to find out how veterans of all ages are doing and to let them know that the Legion is there for them. In many communities, the American Legion leads efforts to help homeless veterans get back on their feet and get the care they need. On the legislative front, the American Legion works every day with elected officials to pass legislation and shape policies that help veterans and their families. This advocacy extends from the State House to the White House, Capitol Hill, and the Pentagon. Some of our chief areas of emphasis on behalf of veterans include timely, quality healthcare, smooth, fair processing of veterans' benefits, career and business opportunities, education and training, suicide prevention and mental health treatment, and support for caregivers. Throughout history, the Legion has pioneered life-changing developments such as the GI Bill and its many renditions since the American Legion drafted the original legislation in 1944. Acceptance and care for veterans facing post-traumatic stress disorder. Government accountability for veterans exposed to toxic contamination while in service. Peer-to-peer outreach through vet centers, buddy checks, and assistance for families facing unexpected issues. Oversight and support of the Department of Veterans Affairs and related agencies. We help bring VA into existence and have a deep stake in making sure it's well-funded, well-staffed, and serving veterans with the best care possible. How else do we help veterans? Transition assistance has been central to our organization's identity since the end of World War I, when veterans had no support systems to help them return to civilian life. The American Legion Veterans Employment and Education Commission leads programs and services that include more than 1,000 veteran career events a year, business workshops specifically designed for veterans, networking with businesses and veteran-friendly employers, credits for certification in specialized career fields from long-haul trucking to cybersecurity to healthcare. This organization firmly believes that a veteran is a veteran, regardless of race, gender, duty station, or rank at discharge. There was no room for prejudice when we were fighting in uniform, and the same holds true in the American Legion. And that brings me to defense. Active duty, National Guard, and Reserve members of our nation's armed forces have no better friend than the American Legion. We have been there. We have done that. We get it. Local posts near military installations have not only the opportunity, but a responsibility to make connections with area commands, armories, and reserve centers to let them know that the American Legion stands ready to help all who are stationed there, as well as their families. The American Legion's Base Assessment and Service Member Experience Program, or BASE, connects the Legion with military installations to learn the needs of the personnel and their families so that we can provide the help they really need. In hundreds of communities around the world, Legion posts have activities like holiday parties for military families, fishing derbies, deployment salutes, welcome home celebrations, and much, much more. Many posts across the country also prepare and send care packages to men and women who are serving far from home. On the policy level in Washington and at state capitals, the American Legion works to improve quality of life for those who serve, from housing to the availability of commissaries and spouse support, promote the honorable nature and lifelong value of service to young people who may be interested in joining the military, fast-track U.S. citizenship for immigrants and legal residents who serve or have served honorably in the United States Armed Forces, deliver to Washington and the public a message of peace through strength, which only happens through a well-funded military with the equipment, weapons, and numbers needed to succeed. Assist our brave allies who served as interpreters alongside our troops in the global war on terrorism. Provide fair and effective benefits and services for military retirees. As we work on behalf of those still in uniform, it's important to remember that current service members are eligible for American Legion membership. They are, by definition, the next generation of veterans and American Legion members. Often, those current service members are familiar with the American Legion through one of our youth programs under the pillar of Americanism. Americanism is in our blood. No other organization does more to advance national pride in justice, freedom, and democracy than the American Legion, especially among young people. In many communities, posts collect worn-out flags and conduct respectful flag retirement ceremonies, often with the help from scouts or other youth groups. Legionnaires teach flag respect to young people from the unique perspective as veterans who fought under the colors of our country. The American Legion led the first national conferences that established U.S. flag code, which include guidelines for proper use, display and respect for the American flag, and those guidelines are now law. Now, the American Legion is recognized as the leading ambassador for our nation's colors. And in nearly every community, the American Legion takes command of patriotic observances, ceremonies, and care for military memorials and monuments. At the local, state, and national levels, most American Legion youth programs come within the pillar of Americanism. American Legion Boys State and Boys Nation programs show young men how government works in a democracy. This firsthand experience is described as a week that shapes a lifetime. More than 19,000 young men attend American Legion Boys State and Boys Nation programs every year, and Posts Everywhere help select and sponsor participants, as well as organize and operate the programs. These talented high school juniors not only learn civics, they live civics by setting up, legislating, and governing mock state and federal governments. Also, the American Legion Auxiliary conducts Girls State and Girls Nation, which provides the same opportunities for young women. The American Legion Oratorical Contest inspires young people to learn the U.S. Constitution and love the freedoms that have been purchased through military sacrifice. American Legion Baseball is much more than a game. It is a lesson in responsible citizenship, teamwork, fitness, and discipline, and that's what sets American Legion Baseball apart. American Legion Junior Shooting Sports creates opportunities for young people to compete at the local, state, and national levels in marksmanship, an activity that prepares youth for scholarship opportunities, military service, and even a shot at the Olympics. The American Legion also awards millions of dollars to our youth each year. These scholarships are presented at the local, state, and national levels. American Legion families worldwide, from Thailand to the heartland, dedicate millions of dollars, volunteer hours, and resources each year to help children. The American Legion's Temporary Financial Assistance Program has issued nearly $18 million in cash grants for military personnel and veterans with children at home who are facing unexpected financial emergencies. Local posts raise millions more each year to help families facing healthcare emergencies or other crises. Along with that, the American Legion's Child Welfare Foundation provides between $500,000 and $1 million a year in grants for nonprofit organizations and agencies that help children confronting healthcare issues, unstable homes, bullying, mental illness, spiritual dilemmas, and more. Every child deserves an opportunity to succeed, regardless of circumstances. That spirit is what drives our youth pillar forward. In addition to our 4 pillars, the American Legion also serves communities through disaster relief. More than $10 million in American Legion National Emergency Fund grants have been awarded in communities since 1989 alone. Untold volunteer hours and supplies have been donated by the American Legion family to help communities recover from disasters. As a new member, I strongly urge you to get engaged. Read the American Legion magazine, visit the national website at legion.org, follow our social media, subscribe to our national e-newsletters, and stay informed through your local and department American Legion media channels. By staying informed, you'll soon learn that the American Legion is all about a special kind of camaraderie. Ours is a network of veterans around the planet connected by shared experience and values that strengthen America and the world. We fulfill our founding purposes by making important differences in the lives of others. To me, and hopefully to you, these are some of the best reasons to join the American Legion and stay a member for years to come. Welcome to the family.
Hopefully that gives you an idea what the Legion does and what it stands for. Now it's time for lunch. And after you get your meals and everything, we'll have a cake cutting ceremony. I'd love the Legion members to partake in that, to cut up the cake. For a minute. So, just for a minute, your attention. So we've got a wonderful cake here provided by the Council on Aging for our 107th birthday. So I'd like to get the Legion members up here, if we could, to partake in the ceremony. And we'll cut this up so you have a little bit of dessert. How's that? This story here? Yep. All our cameras. Yeah. We didn't have these in the old days.